This podcast has been brought to you by Voyager's World. We are building the most amazing hospitality network.
Okay, let's start. Captain Dale. I'm so used to call you Virgin Captain that it's difficult. It's difficult for me to call you Dale. But most people call you like that, right?
A lot of people call me a Virgin Captain.
All right. Yeah, Virgin Captain, for those that are not familiar, is his hash name. So we have this group that is like drinking club with a running problem. And we have names there, and his name is Virgin Captain there. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for coming to this, because I asked you for a while, and I know it's not easy sometimes to put this in the calendar.
I thank you for the invitation, because I feel honored to be part of your library, as we just talked about. Very cool.
I invite people that I believe have great stories, that they did something at least unusual with their life. And I think those are the most interesting people. The most. Sometimes
I'm not sure I rate it there, but I'm listening.
Sometimes they are also the most troubled, the most unusual. They are the most controversial. There are all kinds of side effects to having an unusual life like that. And usually I like to talk about those side effects. The problems and the challenges and the adventures that we have. And sometimes we have met running and drinking beer, but at some point 2 years ago or so, we went sailing together. I went to Virgin Islands, and we sailed from there to Connecticut, and that was really cool. It was really cool to see you in action.
That was on Earth Angel, right?
Yes.
A boat called Earth Angel.
It was Earth Angel, and it was like 11 days.
Which in my mind is a famous boat, famously beautiful and exotic. And
it is classic.
Standard. It's a classic boat.
It is a classic, and also it is very well kept. It's being maintained well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So it
was well sailed.
It retains its beauty.
Yes.
Because boats can go really, really ugly and really bad if you don't pay attention to them.
They're like women in that sense.
Yeah, I would say so. So it's a nice boat, and also it gave me an experience of sailing in a classic. Because all the boating experience that I had, lots or little of it has been in modern boats. In power boats or in sailing boats, but always modern designs. That was the first time that I have been sitting and eating and sleeping and cooking and going to the bathroom and taking a shower in a boat that was such a classic.
Well, that's why generations of people have loved sailing and cruising in the ocean and going about in these boats, because it's a beautiful boat and it's comfortable and safe and seaworthy and what they call sea kindly.
Yeah.
So that's why we love it, because of those types of boats. You get into these more modern boats like the trimaran that I saw and sailed on in San Francisco. I mean, they're pretty exotic, but you don't get the love of the ocean just like that with them.
Yeah, that is. I think it has to be similar. Psychologically, it has to be similar with driving a super nice car like a Tesla today, but then you get into one of those old Cadillacs, those Thunderbirds, and those old classic cars that have a lot of history and they have a lot of personality, and they are so pleasant to drive. They may not be as safe, or they may not have the similar performance or this or that, but the feeling of being in them is something special. And I know I remember having, not too long ago, I had a Mustang, and it was not even a good Mustang. It was an old shitty Mustang. The only thing that was special about that car, though, it was used in a movie. It was part of it was property of a garage that they have cars for the studios in Los Angeles, and
they all sorts of classics.
They supply cars for the movies, and that car was in Fast and Furious.
Okay,
and I used that fact to sell it very well. But because that car looked that way, and he had all those modifications to look so cool, and I don't know, I enjoyed that car. It was a piece of shit, but I enjoyed that car. It was really nice.
I'm not sure the car analogy is the same as with boats, because boats change radically different, you know, from this old classic Hinckley ketch that we just talked about and sailed on, comparing that with the trimarans or the hydrofoils, or now with America's Cup they're going to go with foiling monohulls. So radically different kind of thing. Whereas with cars, the changes aren't so radical. You can look at that old Mustang versus the latest Bugatti I just read about. Sure, they're radical and they're different, but they're still automobiles with four wheels and tie rods and transmissions and blah blahs, you know.
The architecture doesn't change that much.
Not too much. But with boats, the architecture is really changing, and you know that because you're building them right over here.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
I have yes, I'm building something to learn, and the learning experience has been amazing. We have to talk about that as well.
A lot of learning going on there.
But before we get into any of it, that is a question that has been burning me for a while since I thought that we are going to.
Now we're getting somewhere.
To do this. Yes, you mentioned that you were on Fastnet 79, right?
Yeah.
Is that the one?
That's the one.
The one with a lot of incidents and a lot of tragedy on it.
Well, they often have bad weather there, but we had a book written about us.
But how old were you then?
79, I would have been 28, right? 28.
How do you get to participate in a race like that at such a young age?
Oh,
how was your experience before it?
Oh, a lot of sailing, all types of boats, racing, ocean racing, a lot of travel involved sailing, and ended up in England walking the docks at that age, and and walking the docks, knocking on hulls, saying you need help. You say so met some compatible people.
I'll have to ask you to not
the audio, right?
Not do like this, no, because the cameras shake.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, no, we're not.
Yeah.
So anyway, you walk in the docks, and this boat was from Connecticut. Is a Swan 48, beautiful boat that we still love. I mean, it's still venerable boats, and people from Connecticut, and we just we're good chemistry.
Okay.
So I got a job just for the race. They have two races. The Fastnet race was the second one, and then the round the buoy race in the Sound, and just knocking on doors really.
Well, you were knocking on the right doors. You were there, right? How they say
and
that?
I had the right
showing
spiel.
up.
I had the right spiel.
You had experience,
I had
also
experience. I can sail like an animal. So
showing up is half of the thing, right? That's how they say that. Showing up is half of the
being
work.
There. Yeah, I know the right place at the right time. All that stuff is important. Yep.
Yeah, but so how was that? How was that experience?
Oh, it's fantastic.
It's famous. It's a famous
race. We didn't know it. We didn't know at the time. It was just another gale, really. But the people we met, the boats we sailed. I say my girlfriend at the time stayed ashore, but the boat I sailed on, the people I met, and she knew them too, of course. And the experience we had, just another gale around the rock, around the Fastnet rock. We had met an amazing number of people. The navigator, this was his 13th Fastnet race. He was a retired Royal Navy submarine commander named Captain John Coote, by the way. Captain John Coote was a navigator. He was the local knowledge. And the rest of the crew was mostly from New York. A publisher for Norton Books, very important, and at least two of his authors. And John Coote became his third author. So it was sort of an interesting thing. We had two authors on board and a publisher, and I just joined on as a sailor boy,
What was the name of the gentleman that was with us on this trip from Virgin Island?
Was it Rick?
Rick.
Did we have Rick with him, the Canadian?
I don't remember
Canadian?
if it was Canadian.
Big guy at RCMP.
Yeah. The conversations with him were so fantastic. I love it.
Well, he's retired mounted police, Royal Canadian Mounted Police.
And I think that it was very clear from the beginning that we had enormous differences in temperament. And we had enormous similarities on the way that we like to conduct the conversation. So we had very different views in many things, and we could navigate through those differences, and we could discuss and dig into interview and really try to understand each other's point of view. So I really like that aspect, and because many times it was the two of us back in the cockpit
that's
talking
right, two
about
of you jamming
things
along,
we
right?
had. We could talk a lot and not get tired of it.
Oh, yeah,
you
good.
know? So I was very very happy for that. And another thing that I remember I wanted to ask you is about your notes, because you have your log, and I remember many times I would be cooking, for instance, and I would see you in your cabin and you were there writing your little book, right? Other than the obvious technical things that you have to write in a logbook, is there anything else? Is your logbook also a diary, or is there anything else that you like to put there?
Not so much a diary, not so much deep thoughts going into that, but it's more the technical stuff and the observations about the weather, the boat, what's going on and what the potential is.
Observation. This guy
Sure can't cook.
This
man.
guy driving the boat
I can't wait to-
now is a fucking idiot.
I can't wait to eat dinner. It's like, it smells good.
You like that? I really love cooking, man.
I know you do. I appreciate
love
it.
Yeah.
I'm the beneficiary.
No, that was a nice experience. It also showed me a few things that I don't like about classic boats, and of course, the things I like.
Tell me, what are those?
In a classic boat, I think one part of it is that you have to respect the age of things. Like you don't mix a new design with an old design. So I wouldn't get a classic boat and modify the kitchen too much. The galley, we say, right? I wouldn't modify the galley. I wouldn't modify the layout of things, because then it's not a classic anymore, right? So I would preserve the way it is originally, the same way you preserve an old house, right? The way it was. But you know that it's not the best layout, right? For some things. I hated that kitchen, that galley. I hated that galley, because it was in such a way that was very easy to have an accident, and I saw much better designs. But when you are there, I think you need to put in your mind that now we are on the trip. This is not the time to modify anything. This is the time to enjoy the way it is, right? You have to adapt, otherwise it mines or undermines your sense of humor and undermines your state of mind. So you have to enjoy as it is. The same with the bathroom. Okay, it's not the way I like, but I'll have to like the way it is until we arrive.
For 7 days.
For 7 more 7 days.
Our job
or
is
10
not
days
to
or whatever.
rebuild the boat.
Exactly.
We're just
it's
moving
to
the boat.
deliver. So I have enough discipline to get into that state of mind.
Good.
That as you are going, your job is to like it the way it is. But that doesn't mean that I like the design.
No, that's not right. That's not your job. Your job is to sail the boat and be responsible for the boat and get the boat there safely.
Yeah.
You
But
got nothing to do
but
about
you have to keep
your state of mind with the kitchen.
Yeah, no, but I have to. You have to keep your positive attitude. You have to enjoy the situation.
You don't want to start complaining about the bathroom and the kitchen because nobody wants to hear complaints.
Exactly.
Exactly. We're there for just sailing and having a good thing.
Exactly. So you have to focus on those.
So that's good because you won't get asked back if you start complaining about the kitchen.
Exactly. And another thing that helps is that I like to do maintenance. So when I see something broken, I really enjoy. I enjoy tinkering with it and figuring out how.
Well, that is something we have to do. That's part of our job, is to fix it as it comes up.
Yeah,
because
I like it.
That's sort of a meta job, really. The job is to get their boat safely, to get the boat there safely, and what comes from that. In order to get it there safely, you have to be proactive and fix things now.
Yeah.
That was my point.
Boats are
that was
also,
the meta job, is to fix it now.
Yeah, boats are also a great school, because when you are sailing, there is no labor legislation, there is no rights, there is no bullshit. If you have something broken, needs to be fixed, you have to fix it. There is no, but now it's 5 o'clock, I'm done, I'm going to relax, you guys do it. No, there's no such a thing. You have a problem, you have to solve it. There is no bullshit about it. You don't divide the line of command. You don't discuss things incorrectly. You have to to believe that the captain is very good. So you have to know your captain enough to believe that. But then you have to let him lead and not divide it. It gets crazy when some people have a personality that they have to be including their point of view at the wrong moment sometimes.
Well, as a captain, we like input, but
but you like it in a certain.
The decision is the captain's, and that's it.
Yeah, but also, if I am going to,
there's no question there.
If I'm going to disagree with you in something really important, I'll bring that in private. That is, it has to be in private, because otherwise it starts to.
Did you ever have that feeling on that trip?
No, on that trip. No. Well, first of all, because your experience with sailing, especially with sailing a classic boat, was way above my pay grade, right? So I knew that, okay, I don't understand exactly why he's doing that, but then I would just observe it for a while, and then I would realize, now I get it. I understand. That's why. That's why he did. So he paid off many times to, instead of asking a question, just watch. And by watching, I got it many times.
That's good. That's a good quality to be able to instead of you can ask. Don't hesitate. Don't hesitate to ask. But sometimes you can learn by watching.
By watching, exactly.
Paying attention and
exactly. And so it was, and also. Because I knew it was going to be probably 11 days. It was like 10 days at least, but maybe 11.
Did we stop in Bermuda?
No, we skipped because it was the
weather.
American Cup.
Oh,
it was during the American Cup, so we didn't want to deal with all the complications of that. So I knew it was going to be a long trip, so I thought, I want to see how perfect my state of mind can be, how relaxed and how enjoying and learning, because I want to learn as much as possible. And I was very happy at the end that I reached a state of mind that I was really enjoying, even though it was not easy. It was not easy.
You didn't find that easy to move into the boat mode?
No. It's just that sleep deprivation is pretty brutal. So
what?
Sleep deprivation.
Privation?
Because
like shit you're missing?
No, it's not sleeping well.
Sleep privation. I see. I hear you.
And so you're always a little bit tired. You're always a little bit.
That can happen.
That you're not 100%. But then
do your job anyway.
You do your job anyway. I figured out a way to sleep on the front bunk. That was like that. I had my head above my feet, and it worked.
The front bunk is the toughest one for sure.
Yeah, but it worked.
But you're a good man for doing that. I always love the guys who go.
And also I don't get seasick easy.
Good.
I never got seasick on a boat. And I never puked on an airplane, even going through really lots of turbulence or sailing through storms. I never went. I never lost my dinner.
Well, that's where a lot of people differ. Some people get really seasick, and then sometimes they're out of commission for days at a time.
Yeah, that's miserable.
Sure, for them, I'm sure it is. But
yeah. So that was a great experience, and thank you. And if one day you need to do a delivery on a trimaran, please invite me. I really want to sail a trimaran now.
Well, actually, I have 2 trips you could come on. Same kind of deal, no pay, but I got 2 cats coming up. I got 2 schedules, so there's opportunities. If
I want trimaran. Did they say catamaran?
No, I only have cats. I'm sorry.
No. I meant, I don't know what I said.
You said try, but
I mean,
there's not many of those getting delivered by me.
I know there are not many at all.
But I'm working on the cats, so that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And they're pretty cool and exotic and different. They're not the ultimate speed vessel. These things that I'm doing, the Outremer is a brand, and their catamarans, they're contemporary. Performance cruising boats, performance cats, not racing cats, but owners buy them and they can cruise on them and go fast and do fun things on them. So it's a sort of a mixed road, almost a hybrid of sailing, not a hybrid of power or propulsion, but a hybrid of cruising style. And they're pretty exciting. They go well, You get the asymmetrical spinnaker up, and you're doing. we have some great experiences going at 20 knots with them, 15 knots, easy 12 knots sometimes.
Some conversations.
So pretty good stuff.
Yeah, some conversations that I had with you or with coming or going, another one of our friends. Those conversations nudged me into looking more into trimarans when I was thinking about my design, and I end up choosing a trimaran because of that. Before it was like something I knew it's there, and I saw some trimarans that were pretty or okay, this looks good, but I never really got into it. And then when I started really looking at the advantage, especially in the area of stability, solving the problem of roll stability and improving speed, I realized that this is the way to go. I really want to go with trimaran. Yeah, it has better volume for cargo if you don't need to narrow your boat too much. The volume is amazing, stability is great, the thing is fast, and it looks badass. So I like it in many ways. And sometimes looking at how complex the design is, it's not much more complex than the monohull. It was
well, as long as you have computer capability to compute all the stresses and everything, you can tweak everything you want.
Yeah,
When we used to do it by pencil, it was a different thing.
Yeah,
that's why trimarans evolved pretty quickly with computer technology.
Computers, exactly. It's not like it's simple, but doing the monohull was going to be complex anyway. And both of them, I could say like this: making the monohull is nearly impossible. Any other boat is also equally nearly impossible. So I need to solve the impossibility anyway. And the impossibility starts with finances and project management. I would say of designing and building a boat, project management is the greatest challenge. It's not the engineering.
Making it happen
in an organized fashion that doesn't take the rest of your life to happen.
Or the rest of your wallet.
Exactly. So the finances are not easy, but the project management is much more difficult. But that is another thing that I discovered during this year that I want to put that in a podcast. If I knew that designing a boat is so much fun, I would never have paid other people to do it for me in the past.
Okay. Well, you got the software, so you're good to go.
I paid for 2 designs before.
Right.
I learned a lot from them. But now I know that I would have an even better time, and I would learn if I did one design and throw it away and do it again and throw it away and get into the 3rd design, I would be at the same point I am today, but I will have a much better time.
Does your Delft ship software teach those kind of things? Are you able to manipulate it so you can learn from it?
No, Delft ship doesn't teach you anything, but once you know what you want to explore, then it makes it very easy to see that on the screen and to see the results. Delft Ship is the program that I'm using for boat design. It's first of all, it's cheap. It's made by
Delft Ship is cheap.
Yeah, it comes from a spin-off of Delft University in
Holland, I suppose.
Holland or Belgium, I don't remember. It's one of those.
Delft is Holland.
Yeah, something like it. But
it's that blue and white ceramic stuff. Delft is a famous Delft ceramic plates, blue and white style. Very famous Delft.
Okay. Famous. So yeah, I know people that work there, and we talk about these kind of things, in mechanic engineering and all that. So I decided to use their systems. Their software, and their software is given for free. You can actually download from them and use it. Yeah, it's only when you want more advanced calculations that you need to pay for the modules. But they are cheaper than any other solution as far.
So far, you've not had to buy those upgrades?
I had to buy one of them already, and that is another one that I know I'll need.
So they got different levels of upgrades for your software, right? You can go to the magnet.
No, depends on the kind of calculation you want. So, for instance, basic hydrostatics and some things, I got it for like $150. But later, I want to do more advanced stability calculations.
And then you own that software. You got it on your
you pay
hard
once.
drive, and you're good to go.
Pay once.
Pay once.
So that will cost another $750. But then I'll have all the advanced hydrostatics and stability calculations.
Which is good.
Which is
pretty
also
important for what you're doing.
Pretty good.
You got multiple projects going on.
Pretty good.
You can have that.
Yeah. And also it's a very easy program to see things on the screen. You want to see it and model and put the weight of items and try to know how it's going to look like. And at the same time how it's going to perform. Yeah.
I'm turn my phone.
Really good. It's a really good software for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, both design is being a really interesting thing in my life now.
Yeah, I lived in the Virgin Islands. I signed up for I'm forgetting what school it was. It was an online or an early mail-in school.
West.
Yeah, right. And I did the first season, the 1st module or something, and then the hurricane blew away. I had a beautiful design table set up on a boat in St. Thomas where I live, like a hall that we'd put a shed of, and the hurricane blew this thing away. So all my design stuff went. And so that was the end. And it was the early days of computers, so I'd bought a laptop and I had an early software. It was their software, but anyway, I did a couple of modules of nautical engineering, like marine architecture, and so it was a lot of fun. Very, very enlightening, of course, and it opened up within me a lot of what you're saying. It opened up in my mind. The visuals of hydrostatics, and how it related to the civil engineering that I knew, and the sailing experience that I knew, and the at sea dynamics that I knew.
After some point, you acquire some intuition that I bet you already have for a long time. You acquire a certain intuition that you look at a boat, just looking at the lines, you can imagine how it's going to behave at some point. Sure. You see just the shapes of it, and you have a clue. Or sometimes you look at a boat and say, whoa, wow, that shear line is super high. That must have a lot of space inside. And you can imagine even how comfortable it is, or how comfortable it's going to move on the water. And that intuition comes from either from designing and looking and testing things, or also from using boats. You have been in all kinds of
a lot of different boats, different conditions, different places. Yeah, really cool.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking now that you were talking about how the classic boats didn't have the right galley, didn't have the right blah blah for you. So if you have enough money these days, these rich guys they build a new thing, like they build a J boat, like the old Herreshoff J boat back from the 19th century, the 150 footer America's Cup stuff. And they're very sea kindly, and they're very seagoing, seaworthy, deep keel and narrow, but they can change it. So they design with a lot of money. They make these classic. Was classic our word? Classic yachts, looking with the shear line and the low, or whatever classic look you want to do, and they build it out of carbon. And they put a big carbon rig on it, and some
all modern stuff.
And inside has the perfect modern interior. Maybe they keep a traditional semi look, but they can make the perfect galley. They can make the perfect bathroom head. They can make the perfect cabin arrangement for owners and wives and charters even. So it's very cool that with enough money you can buy a carbon classic boat with a modern interior. It will be just perfect for you.
I also discover
the perfect galley for you.
Yeah, I also discover another pleasure in design.
Okay.
Which is this. Very often when I mention that I'm designing, I want to buy a boat, it's followed with this question: wouldn't it be better or cheaper to just buy a used boat and sell it? And it's a very natural question. I totally understand it. But then I have to explain that I'm not doing this just to have a boat. I'm doing this because I want that learning process. That journey is important to me. Right, and by the way, I am pretty sure that it's going to cost me more than just buying a used boat.
That's the goal.
That would be suitable.
Your goal is not necessarily to go cruising or to sailing. It's to learn in the process of whatever your life is.
I want to travel, for sure, but I am really interested in the process of learning and building and testing and discovering and understanding everything that is there. To me, that is the ultimate school. That's why I say when people see the model that I have in the back of the house, they see the model of the boat, they say, oh, you're going to build boats. I said, no, boat, like singular. This is talking big boats, right? This is the first and the last boat that I would like to build. I'm not interested in being a boat builder, like with ER.
No, you're doing it for
I want to build this.
Yeah.
And I want to enjoy it, and I want to keep modifying and changing and unbuilding and.
Well, you'll be a builder forever.
It will probably.
You got to finalize the design, get it done.
I don't think I will ever call it final, because
then
it's
you'll
my
be a builder
lab.
forever.
It's my lab, right? It's my lab to try ideas.
So your goal is your lab. I get it. Yeah, it's not to go motoring.
It's my school. It's my own school where I am the master, but I'm the student there. I'm the one discovering and learning. And then if I'm lucky enough, I'll be able to show that to other people and teach them as well, or just let them be there and watch it, and they'll learn. So when you start doing this kind of thing, people get interested and they show, oh, can I go and do this and learn this? Say, yeah, come over. Learn anything. I'll teach you anything. But to do that, first I need to be the student. I cannot teach about a boat that I didn't build.
No, you gotta know.
That I don't understand. That
the whole process.
And of course, it's going to have some faults and some problems. It's natural, And most of them, hopefully, I'll be able to correct, and some of them I may have to live with them. Just like any boat, you need to live with something that you may think that this is not ideal, but
I hear you. And I think about how we do our things like that, but I feel like we're so left behind. When you look at this guy in France, this inventor who had that flying hoverboard. Did you see that on Bastille Day? This guy had a flying hoverboard. He flew over the entire, and he's recently crossed the English Channel.
You mean a foilboard?
It's it's electric.
It stays like above the water, like this.
No, he was way up in the air, and he had full helmet and gear on, and he went. I think he had to recharge somewhere. He had to recharge the battery or change battery pack.
I know what you're talking. Yeah.
I don't know if he got all the way across the English Channel on one charge or had to redo somewhere on some vessel. But this thing flew. I mean, this guy is not a surface effect thing. It's a total hover deal.
Yeah.
And you steer it like you lean forward, and then it projects.
I know the one you're talking about. It's actually
just happened the last couple of weeks. It's unbelievable. This thing.
It is actually turbines.
His name was McDonald or something.
Yeah, I saw the news of that. Yeah, and I'm familiar.
Pretty impressive,
Amazing.
I mean, nothing else like that has come out, and it's pretty impressive. It's like a Segway in the air. It's like a Segway in the air, really. It's the same process of balance and body motion to make it go, and directional stability with your body. But he was way up in the air. Unbelievable. Pretty cool. It's like
the electronics today are so much more accessible.
And the battery pack is unbelievable. I don't know how Tesla raced with what he had, but that's pretty impressive what he must have had to make this thing fly in the air.
Yeah,
plus aerodynamics with lifting blades. I don't know. Yeah. We need to look at that one.
I'm very curious about foils as well. So I participate in hydrofoils. I participate in groups of people that build hydrofoils, and they design and calculate them and things like that online. And so I'm learning a lot, and I'm learning a lot about how to, like, even designing the hydrofoils for my small boat, and I calculate that myself. But hydrofoils are fun. They are it's like a renaissance of the idea of surfing now. The entire world of surfing and boarding is being affected by foils.
Well, they're all going in foils. Kiteboarding, they're all in foils, so that's fine. Yeah, but that lifting technology is old stuff. Birds have done it forever, and airplanes have done it for 100 years. So foil technology does advance. Lightness helps. So modern materials help. Modern computational capability helps with designing proper loading.
But what surprised me was how accessible it was. Like with modern programs and the electronics that we can buy today,
The design programs are accessible.
and the design of it and the formulas and how
Free.
easy it
I
is.
hope you mean free.
Yeah,
Free.
and how accessible also in the sense that anyone with basic understanding of engineering can decipher all that. You know, it's not written from engineers to engineers. It's written to people that want to get the tools at Home Depot and build it. And they put the videos on YouTube and they explain each technique, and you end up
YouTube is good for sure.
yeah, and you end up discovering enough that you can build it. And also the cost of it is so low that you can prototype. You can build it without worrying too much that it may be wrong, because you have a good chance of being right.
Is that the way you feel with your boat?
Most parts of it. I'll give you an example. The wings, the tips of the wings, right? I didn't calculate them.
Okay.
I did that by eyeballing it. I said, okay, it's going to be
Let's
like this.
try this.
Because that part is removable anyway. So if I'm testing and I'm doing the first test and I realize, oh, it doesn't have enough raw authority here, I can just go back and rebuild just that bit. So the cost of rebuilding and correcting my error on that part is so little that I can risk going with the wrong one. No, knowing that it's probably going to be right. But if it is wrong, it's not catastrophic at all, you know. And many parts of the entire design are like that. The V-shaped tail, you know, the kind of motor, there are only a few things that I thought, wow, this is a big commitment. I better not get this wrong. For instance, the choice of batteries. You know, I spent just in the batteries. I had to spend $3,000. It's a lot of money. So I better be right on that part. But if I'm wrong about the choice of electric motor, I just sell it and buy another one. There's no big deal if that part is wrong, you know. But it's the batteries and the wings are the more complicated part. Everything else is probably right. And that's good enough to start testing.
We'll see.
Yeah,
on the big boat, brother.
On the big boat, the tolerance for error is lesser.
We'll see if she flies. That's all.
But
I'm counting on you to get it right because I'm not involved.
Yeah, on a bigger design. Oh, and on the big boat, you are my test captain, huh?
Okay, sure.
But on that one, the tolerances for mistakes are much lesser, because if you make a mistake on the shape of the hull, that's a big mistake.
You can't change it.
You know, you have to scrape it. Or if you make a major
That's why your hydrostatics, all those numbers are important.
Exactly. That's where a Delft ship comes in, so important. And you better be right about your modeling, understanding modeling very well.
You got to understand the software. Yeah,
exactly.
Sure. Yeah.
But a lot of things, even on that design, are tolerant to some mistake. For instance, I am choosing a very exotic way to produce energy for that. To produce and store energy, but it's a system that if I cannot make it work the way that I'm designing, I just put a traditional system in place. Just put a regular generator, store diesel, do the same thing that everybody else has done. I don't need to change everything else.
At high cost and time. I mean, you're talking about a big diesel engine. I don't know what you're talking about, but a big diesel
but I don't need to redesign the boat just because I had to redesign that power part.
You can redesign the power plant, but same issue of cost and time.
Yes, cost and time, but that's the school. That's the school part.
You learn.
That's and also
when you're 70, you'll finally get to see.
I told you that. I told you that the first question that comes.
A few more years, right?
Yeah, just a few.
Well, don't demean
the first question that comes in is, why don't you buy a used boat? Because it's going to cost you less and it's still going to be adequate, right? But the second question is, how do you want to make money with it? You know, how do you want to sell this idea or commercialize this? And the answer is actually simpler, and it may sound a little bit of a smart ass answer, but no, it's sincere. What if I don't intend to make money on it? What if I'm doing it for the learning experience and the adventure and the lifestyle? But what if I don't care to be a boat builder? What if I really don't care? What if later I just just
You know,
share the idea.
at that point, you might get commissions to build a boat out of the blue. Maybe
Yeah.
somebody wants you to build
And I'll
it.
be very
and then
happy
then you become a boat builder.
Yeah.
Dun,
And
dun,
I'll
dun.
be very happy to not do it as much
Somebody
as
else
I would.
loves your design and says, "Build me one."
Yeah, but you see, I'm going in with the idea that I can do it and I can also not do it. That right now,
if you
I
succeed,
really
it'll
don't
be a
care.
valuable thing. If you don't succeed, it's not so valuable.
Exactly.
I mean, the learning is valuable, but the
Yeah.
product,
At least people will learn to not do the way I did.
it'll be evolutionary.
Mm-hmm.
It should be evolutionary. It's good. Yeah, good. Huh. So that hull there, you're going to fiberglass over?
Yeah, I'll put some fiberglass and
When's your launch date?
that's the question that I don't know. and that's why I don't
I know
tell.
it's early yet.
That's why I don't tell a lot of people what
Right.
I'm doing.
Right.
Because then I don't need to explain why
Sure.
is it that I'm late.
Sure. You're never late.
Yeah, this way I'm never late. Oh, it's done when it's done. but yes, the learning experience is amazing, and I'm also learning how badly I estimated the time it takes to do even certain simple things. Even work that is not
Double
boat
your
related.
time, double your money. That's I always advise. You
Yeah.
know, whatever. If you got an estimate or something,
I originally-
twice as much, twice as long.
Yeah, originally I'm a software engineer, and in software engineering we say that designing the program takes 80% of the time. Building the program takes the other 80%.
Okay.
Yeah, and it is like that. Even like I painted the walls in this house, and it took me like 3 times as much. Three times what I estimated it would take, you know, and I still have to make some.
Well, it looks
little
great. I
corrections.
mean, you did a good dang job. I'm telling you, it looks fine. You
No,
guys did good.
It's better than what was done on the other side, but even that, I learned a lot about my error bias to estimate time.
Error bias.
Yeah. So the when I look today at my projects and the way that I want to do things, I'm much more aware of where I'm going to err on time predictions.
Self-awareness, important stuff.
Yes, I'm learning a lot on that. but back to traveling. What in recent times did anything much changed other than electronics, other than navigation? Because you sell old and new boats. You're not focusing only on high-tech stuff. But other than navigation, let me rephrase the question. If you take that boat that we sell,
Earth Angel. The traditional.
If you took
Hinkley,
the chart plotter out, and a guy from the 16th century saw that boat, nothing would be unfamiliar.
16th century, they didn't really have Marconi rigs in. They didn't have lifting. Nah, not from that long ago. The 16th century.
Okay, let's say 18th century, right?
He could live at sea, but even then, you know.
But everything would be easy to figure out.
Materials are different.
Yeah.
Materials are different.
Yeah.
Materials he wouldn't have any idea about. Use of gas he wouldn't have any idea about. The really cool lines would find amazing. They had lines, of course, but not the same type.
Yeah.
The steel, the use of steel and metals would not have been the same. Different materials, aluminum and steel, not wood and cast iron.
So let me try to.
So there's changes that he would think. If you're talking more contemporarily, like in my lifetime.
No, but let me try to juggle this question in a different way then. Let's say you bring a guy from the 16th century to today. You use a travel machine, a time machine, and you bring the 16th century man to today. And you show him an iPad, it's magic. You show him a car, it's pretty much magic. TV, no worries, he is not going to understand that. But if you show him a prison or a factory or a school, he would know what it is. He would understand, oh, this is what's going on here. Because those three things change very little from the 16th century, other than details, right? Other than technology.
Schools, prisons, and factories?
Yeah, they are the same. Some of the companies we have today are from the 16th
Maybe
century,
so. Maybe
right? So they had a production line. You know, we say that Ford invented the production line. No, he invented the fast production line. Production lines already existed before, right? But he made them fast and efficient and specialized. But prisons, schools, and factories look very similar. So in the sense that he would look at it and he wouldn't be scared away by, oh, this is magic, you know. I think that the 18th century old man would get into a sailboat today without the electronics off. He would look at it and you say, wow, there are materials that I don't understand. This is more slick than I ever saw. Performance is awesome. But he knows what's going on. He knows.
Well, a sailor would know. A landsman wouldn't know jack all. A sailor would see the mast and the boom and the sails and the halyards and the sheets.
But most regular people from today wouldn't understand the sailboat.
Might even recognize a wheel or you know, but a sailor could maybe get by with things like that.
Yeah. But a non-sailor from today would not understand most sailboats today, you know, because they are a specialized kind of knowledge.
Well, from my experience, I only have a small niche of you know, these traditional boats and some more contemporary catamarans. But there are more exotic boats that I don't sail. You know, the foilers we talked about.
Yeah.
I mean, I know what I know, and I can do that. You know?
I watch a lot of videos about foilers and
the moth. You see the moth sailboat? How cool is that? It's difficult to get going, but once you're going, it's a little one-man foiling with wings, and you sit out on the wing for ballast.
I watch more about the Hydropter because I really like the design.
Which one?
The Hydropter that broke some records.
What we just looked at? Hydropter?
Hydropter, yeah. It's a trimaran foiler that has been breaking a lot of speed records.
I see.
And he did Trans-Pacific and Transatlantic already with that.
Called?
And Hydropter. That's the
Hydropter.
name. Yeah, it's an amazing boat. But you watch the videos of them driving the thing. It's completely a new game. The technology, the methods, the way they need to pay attention, and also the stress of doing it. Because at 60 knots, that thing does, you don't stop, you crash. You know, if you nosedive that, it's a crash.
Yeah, you gotta be good. You gotta be good.
Yeah, it's like crashing a small airplane.
And they've done Trans-Pacific, California to Hawaii.
I think they did Trans-Pacific
I have to
as
look
well.
at that. Hydrocopter.
Hydropter.
Hydropter.
Yeah, I'll send you a link to that.
Yeah, right, sure.
It's an amazing thing. But what I'm trying to do is not that complex. But I usually
not yet.
I usually think,
not yet. I'm sure in the future you will.
I usually think about things like that. You know, how normal is this, or why do we have this? For instance, let me give a practical example. Most boats, you command the boat on the outside. You have the wheel, and you have you need to see, and you have the sails and everything, and it's everything outside, right? But pretty much my first experience of really looking into a boat and looking at its design was a boat that was made to go to Antarctica called Paraty.
I remember we talked about that.
Yeah,
before.
and that is a pilot house boat. So the guy can drive the boat from the inside.
Makes sense.
Because he's going to sub-freezing temperatures sometimes and horrible storms near Antarctica.
They do it on jets. Might as well do it on boats.
Exactly. And since then, it created this thing in my mind that I understand if you have a classic boat and you want to do, to drive on the outside. But there are some people that buy modern boats that are modern style, and they pay millions of dollars on those boats, and they have to sit miserable outside in the rain and in the spray and all that. And I think didn't it occur to them that the wheel can be somewhere else? That you can actually be inside?
No, they're not usually on board. The captain takes it over and they just fly off to the next destination.
Yeah, they just take the helicopter to the next thing, right? Exactly. But to me, I tend to question those things. Doesn't mean that I would choose different, but I tend to ask why. You know, for instance, the many times the shape, I ask why did they end up with that shape, and I go and I look at the history. Why is it that they did it this way, and why they rigged that way? And many times I discover that it's just like this, just because nobody tried different. Because there is really no reason. It's just that it evolved this way and it stayed this way, but it's not. It didn't end up this way because they tried a different format and it failed. It's this way just because nobody tried anything else. And you find that a lot in
on that type of classic boat that we sailed, you've got mixed use. You want pleasant cruising at anchor with an outdoor evening cocktail with your friends around the cockpit table. If you're all closed in on something, then it's a different feeling. They do have a dodger for protection, you know, the wind. Some people put a whole bimini top and side curtains, and that protects them, but it's kind of ugly. So you got all sorts of compromises. If you're just talking about a 40-foot, even an 80-foot boat, you got all sorts of compromises on design. Do you want a shield? Do you want a bubble? Do you want a whole wheelhouse? Do you want it to look low, flat, and racy, and because we're never going to go out in bad weather, or you know, what do you need? Every boat's designed for a specific thing. If you're going to Antarctica, of course you want some protection. If you're going to hang around the Virgin Islands just in the season, then you don't need different stuff. You know?
For instance,
what are you going to do? It's all about design stuff.
I'm planning to paint the boat in dark color, maybe black.
Okay.
And people go like, "Are you fucking crazy?" Yeah, but I'm not going to be hanging out in the Caribbean. I'm going to cold weather. Okay. I'm going to to the north. Okay. I'll probably spend most of the life of that boat above 50 degrees.
The paint color is really a little early to be thinking about that, but I hear you.
But it's things that you put there.
First, this one right here.
No, but you put those things there because you need to marinate those ideas for a long time, and sometimes
white or black. What do you want? Or these days you wrap a boat like that. It doesn't cost anything to wrap a boat, and wrap is cheaper and quicker and lighter than paint.
Yeah,
so you can have any kind of design you want. You can have squirrels and swirls, whatever you want.
Yeah.
So
that's true. But back to the question. 3 versions before. So in recent times, do you see much difference in sailing compared to your early experience sailing?
No, not much. You know, whether you got a catamaran or monohull, the dynamics are the same, and with or without electronics, you got to have some kind of navigation. So the navigation will be the same. You know, if you don't have electronics, then you got radio and you got your sextant thing and.
Do you know how to do that thing?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. You used to do it all the time.
I'm wondering if I'm going to learn.
You should travel the airports with rolls of charts, a roll of charts, a sextant in a separate box, and 3 or 4 giant books. You had to carry this, and there's already 25 pounds before you get. That was before they charged for bags, but no, I carried all this through the airport. Did a lot of deliveries with books and sextants and shit like that. Yeah.
In estimating and drawing on the chart.
Oh, all that stuff. Yeah. You get your universal plotting sheet. I got to where on one legal pad. You got your legal pad, right? Your yellow legal pad. I could do 7 stars in the morning to spend hours on celestial navigation. I'd get up and shoot stars and moon at dawn, and then you do a couple of sights during the day, a noon sight, etc., and then you do a whole set of stars at night. And I could do 7 things in one column on 7 columns on one legal page. You come down with it. You got these 7 numbers down here. Plug it in. Bang, find your stuff.
That's fascinating.
Used to do that. Yeah, really cool stuff. I'm out of practice now, but it's available if I want to.
Some time ago, I talked to a very experienced captain, and he said that he doesn't know how to do any of it, but and he doesn't have a chart plotter. But he used to be a pilot. So what he does is he sometimes pays attention to the sky, because he said the sky is almost as if it had avenues. If you see several airplanes going like this, because that's one of the main
going to lead
routes.
you to New York. I
That's
understand.
going to lead you to New York.
That's
This is going to lead you to Miami.
Yeah, he's bullshitting you too.
And he just looks at
You're
that.
not going to navigate by airplanes, but I hear you.
No, but if you know which lane you're following,
Okay.
and you follow that lane from the beginning, boom, as long as it doesn't rain much.
Yeah. Or clouds, or there's no airplanes, or you have to make landfall.
Yeah, some people follow that, and also when we were sailing, I was observing marine life a lot. Watching the birds and the dolphins and the whales and all that stuff. And I bet that if with a lot of experience, that tells you things. That tells you about the conditions around you.
Well, the South Pacific navigators always had an aura of that and a traditional knowledge of that. The seafarers from the Polynesian Islands, there's books about that. David, what was his name? David wrote about them. Somebody wrote about them.
And there is that Kontiki story that they...
Yeah, Kontiki's part of it. There's other things. They were drifters. Kontikis were drifters. The other boys were paddlers and sailors. So they read the waves and they could see waves and birds and clouds and shit like that.
But the Kontiki demonstrated that it's absolutely plausible that the South Americans sailed to Easter Island, right? Mm-hmm. But there are some very plausible theories now that sailing in the South Pacific existed some 30,000 years ago. That it's much older than we can imagine.
Well, the ice age was 10,
they know that by what is suggesting that is not that they know how the sailing was done, but the DNA coding between Polynesians and people in some parts of South America indicates that they didn't travel through the Bering Strait because some DNA coding is not anywhere along the way. It's just in two parts of the world. So
that's part of that is what proves what Kontiki did, right? That they can come from the other direction.
Yeah, but they are arguing now that they came from the west to the east. So that would be a much more southern trip. So
you're following the winds, so you end up in South Chile, and then they from Polynesia.
Exactly. So those possibilities are quite interesting because I read a lot about the Portuguese. I studied their history, and right now I'm reading another book specific about how the Portuguese conquered so much of the world, having just 6 million inhabitants at that time.
Well, again, you're talking 16th century.
Yeah, 16th century, 15th, 16th century. It's a fascinating book, but to me, one of the most fascinating things is that the navigators from 14th to 16th century, their boat construction techniques are still not completely understood today. They couldn't discover exactly how to make a replica of those boats from that time. They get it more or less, but they don't know exactly how they were built, and they don't know exactly how they were used, because nobody can reproduce that performance today.
The performance?
The way that they did it at that speed.
Don't they have shipwrecks that they can get the construction from?
That is because there is no record. It was so secret. It was like today making a Tomahawk missile. You keep that really, really guarded. And the people that designed the Viking boats
like a Tomahawk missile.
people designing Viking boats, they didn't make blueprints. They did it by knowing how their parents did it.
They didn't know how to write back then. Vikings.
Well, I guess I don't know, but there is
all they had were runes.
There is no really good record of how they did it, and there is no record that survived of how the Portuguese built their boats, and their boats were the most amazing at that time.
It's only interesting in a historical sense, an archaeological sense, but
it explains a lot of things that happen today.
I bet more of them failed than more of them succeed. I bet more of them failed than succeeded. A few of them got to India, and a few of them got to Australia maybe, but
There was a lot of trial and
a
failure.
higher percentage didn't make it. You know?
Yeah.
Like that. What was that Friendship Rose that turned upside down? And was that in Sweden? Right.
Mm-hmm.
They just launched it, and it was so full of cannons on the upper deck that just rolled right over on the first day. Right.
I saw an example like that's recent, like some fishing major.
Then they started moving the cannons to the lower deck.
Yeah, some major fishing boat that was launched and it capsized right away because someone forgot apparently to tell that you need to load all the ballast tanks first before you launch it.
Well, that was
But that's recent. This is like.
Well, they learned, whenever a boat turns upside down, we learn something about stability, or we relearn it.
Yeah, that's the evolution part of it. You build you build an airplane and it crashes and kills the pilot. You don't do that design anymore. For a long time, I was a software engineer, and I thought, is this what I'm going to do forever? Like, is this?
Did
my
you learn
life?
that in school?
No.
Did you go to school for software engineering?
No.
Oh.
No, I became a software
Were
engineer.
you a coder? Did you code?
Yeah.
I know I had a coder on a charter, and he could type faster than anybody ever seen. That's
I went
unbelievable.
from coding all the way to project management. I did the entire career.
So you learned
in software
coding in
engineering.
school or something?
No, not in school. I learned on the job.
Wow.
I had a job at a place that we got a computer in the very beginning of computers. It was like the first computer that had a keyboard and a screen. We didn't have to punch cards anymore. It was way before PCs and before, but it had a keyboard. You would press a key, it would show on the screen. That was amazing.
Unix, right?
That was a different system, but it was around the time of the first Unix. And it was like a super high-tech thing. And they sent that to us, and nobody had a clue how to use it. So they sent it to a department that had an engineer as the director of the department, civil engineer. But he was the only engineer in the entire organization. So
what kind of organization was this? A design?
It was the City Hall.
City Hall.
City Hall in the administration part of it.
Wow.
So there was only one.
What city?
It was in Brazil. It was.
So somebody sent you a computer and you didn't.
They sent us a computer from US.
And did the guy figure it out?
And they sent to his department. Said, "You figured out. You're the engineer." And then
he said, "Yes, I am."
Then you look at me and say, "Wow, please don't do that."
Was that you?
Yeah. No, he said to me, "Well, we'll have to figure it out now." But thankfully, they didn't send just the computer. They sent a lot of books and a lot of books on how to do everything. No, not just the manuals, but books on how to program, how to use the language.
And you learn from that.
And then we had there was no demand on us on how fast we had to do it.
City Hall.
So we took our time and we learned to program that. So for a little while, I was probably the only guy in the city that knew how to code, and for quite a while, I was one of the few. And from there, there were few things that I did really right in my career.
Brazil?
Florianópolis.
Okay.
There was a few things that I think I did really right with my career in the beginning. Is that every job that I had when I was negotiating to get a job, the salary and whatever, I would always put the condition that I will only take the job if I spend at least 1/3 of my time learning how to do the next thing. It was always like that.
Wow.
At least one third of my time.
I don't think we have that policy in our country.
No. Even here, I did that. I worked.
I'll only get paid $100,000 if I can.
No. I always said at least 1/3 of my time has to be research.
That's a good policy.
And when I had jobs.
Research.
Yeah, I had jobs in America.
Different than learning.
And I used the same argument here. And I was working, near Harvard.
That's why you're unemployed.
Most of the guys working with me were Harvard and MIT guys. And I said, no, at least 1/3 of my time has to be learning and researching. And they said, yeah, you're in the right place. That's how we roll here. Because we have to learn so much stuff that it's 1/3 to half of our time is research here. And it's very interesting to be clear about what research is.
And where was that?
Research is when you are learning or trying something.
No. What job allowed you to do that?
It was in pharmaceuticals. I was working for a big pharmaceutical company.
Administration?
In clinical research.
Right.
Yeah, so we were on the tip of the spear of clinical research there.
So do you have medical training?
No.
Or
No.
biotech?
No, but some guys in our department had to have.
Sure.
Because we had to deal with all the language of it, of medical research. But there is a difference between the meaning of the word research in medical terms and research inside our department. Within our department, research means the same that it means, for instance, in aerospace or even in mechanical engineering. It means that you are learning things and you are trying ideas that you cannot be sure that they are going to work. You are trying things to see if they work, because that's when you get an advantage. That's if they work, that's where you get a breakthrough. But you need to try things that most people in the group will say, probably won't, but let's try.
Well, research involves experimentation.
Experimentation, a lot of prototyping, involves a lot of trying to learn something that very few people know.
It's all empirical. It's empirical. You learn by your mistakes.
We were even, for instance, there was a language that we decided to use, or a version of a language, and a method that we decided to use that was so new that we couldn't find anywhere to learn, and we couldn't find more than one book about it. It was just published by a guy in
Why did you want that process?
Because we thought it was going to give us an advantage in time to do our next project. And only one guy in Australia was an expert in that. We hired that guy. He came to Boston, spent like a month with us, teaching us how to do it. So we got the author of it. And of course, like a year later, it was a popular method and a lot of people were doing, but now we were a year already into our project, getting the benefits of it. So we went really edgy on that technology, and that was an amazing benefit of that work. Later, after I left that and I left my last job and I decided to do my own things, many times I was keeping that mentality of, let me try this that I don't know if it's going to. Of course, I had enough reserve of savings that I could take the hit of not making money here and there, but and I was winning more than I was losing most of the time, so I could try ideas that I couldn't find anywhere to learn where how to do this. I had to figure out on my own. And that allowed me to make money several times where nobody else was doing. And now I think the same when I'm designing boats. Many times I have some ideas that I think, don't know if this will work, but is this an idea that if, right? But it is an idea that if it doesn't work, it's not going to kill the entire project. That I can take the loss of time and money of testing this idea.
That's experimenting.
I love to do that.
So often you should experiment with very small pieces, miniature pieces, before you go in and scale down.
Some things I can model, Some things I can do in theory in the computer. Some things I can do a little model.
Sometimes you can do it in a little bowl of water.
And some ideas I need
a fan.
And some ideas you just need to try them and see if it works.
And on a small scale, cheap scale. That's empirical learning.
Many things you can do that way, but there is especially when people are employees and they are working in a big bureaucracy or they are working in a big company, many times they don't have enough space to try ideas and lose money trying new things.
That's why you do it small.
No, but many companies or organizations don't have that culture. It's very and also, even when they have their culture, they struggle to bring in the people that are the outliers. They are the ones that are comfortable with trying things that people are telling them this is not going to work, but they have that intuition, or they have that. There are very few places that are like that. One that I study a lot, I basically watched every video I could about how they do business, was this company Scale Composites. From Burt Rutan's company, that they designed some of the most amazing airplanes, including Spaceship One and things like that. And that is a company where they have the express from before they are hired, they already hear that, and when they are in, they learn that if you have an idea that you're confident that that may be something here, but more than half of the team doesn't believe it's going to work, try it anyway.
Well, you have to resist the numbers. You have to convince them. You can't just
but
spend $1 million to try something. You have to make an argument to make it happen.
That's interesting.
Why?
That's a company that actually does spend a lot of money in ideas that fail, because that's where they.
You have to trust your engineers, and okay, let him try this, let him try that, and let's see which one blows up.
And another thing they
can do that with nuclear.
There are two things that I like about their culture. One is this: you have to try scale composites. You have to try ideas that you think that you are not sure that they are going to work, right? And the other thing is that whatever it is that you want to add to the design, you the engineer, right? If you are thinking of something new, the first time you will have to go to the shop and make it yourself. The guys from the shop, they have to see and help you, but they have to see that you do it, because they want to keep that relationship between the engineering and the shop very tight. Very tight. So the guys from the engineering, they know the trouble that the guys on the shop go through, and the guys on the shop trust and believe the engineers because they see them doing it. If you cannot do it on the shop, you cannot put it on the design. And that another company that does very similarly is SpaceX. In SpaceX, the designer is no more than 30 feet away from the guy that is actually building the part, and he has to participate in the building. That means if the shop guy has an idea of how to make it better or how to correct something, he can just talk to Bob right here, because that's the guy that designed it. And
the software guy's right here.
And the software guy's right there. Exactly. So that
and the guy writing the checks is right here.
Yeah, exactly. And the boss sleeps on the shop sometimes.
He's wherever he wants to be. He's the boss. Yeah, I hear you. That's good. You got to be in touch. You got to have communication. I mean, just think what Boeing goes through when they put out, they're putting out 2 a day or something. It's unbelievable what they can do. And think of the processes. You're talking about processes. Think about the process involved with that kind of manufacturing. And we talk about manufacturing, but that's a huge change. The guy from the 16th century wouldn't understand any of that. The processes, the coordination, the communication. They had blacksmiths. They had blacksmiths, hammer and horseshoes, and spear maybe, but they didn't have processes. Yeah, they didn't have much going on. Yeah. They'd struggle. They'd struggle to eat. You're eating what? What's a Cheerio?
The world is quite interesting today, and I think the world is quite interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
And we are a generation, and I commit the temerity of saying we as if me and you, we are in the same generation, but. Give me some.
No, I'm older.
Give me some.
I'm good with that.
Give me some latitude on this one.
No, where you go?
We are in the generation.
We're both humans, so go ahead.
We are in the generation that we have the supercomputers in our pocket, right? Yeah. But part of our life, we had to actually walk to the library, and you only learn what that library has. That was your limit, right? If you want to learn something they don't have, you have to walk to another library. You had to go and find the book. I was incredibly lucky that when I was a kid, my mother had lots of books in the house.
Books?
Our house was full of books.
In Brazil?
Yeah, because she was a teacher, so she got all these books from the samples, right, from the publishers. But she got everything from little child books all the way to encyclopedias. She would get we had all the encyclopedias we could imagine. We had to donate books to libraries to get rid of them. We used to joke that if a table broke a leg, we would just pile up a bunch of books, keep it flat.
And she was good with that, right?
No, and so I grew up sitting in the living room, reading books that were not for my age, and all kinds of books and amazing encyclopedias. There was an encyclopedia that
Britannica.
was called. No,
we had the World Book in my house. We had the World. We saved up money. We had a jar with many. My whole
I had
family,
the World Book.
Little jar of pennies and nickels.
Yeah.
And most of my parents, but and we ended up buying the World Book, and I did so much research on my school report things. It's like
there are encyclopedias like the Life Encyclopedia, which today I consider like, but at that time it was amazing.
We don't have encyclopedias.
I read that.
We got Wikipedia. What do you want?
I read
All
that.
you need is Wikipedia.
Yeah, the Life Encyclopedia. I read the entire thing from cover to cover. I saw everything because it took years, but I had those years. And
that's the way you are, like you are now.
Maybe that explains something.
That explains a
Some
lot.
people say it's because I fell and hit my head on the ground a few
Well, that
times.
explains the hair.
Yeah. So we had most of the records from US, and we had a lot of English courses that were using music. I even wrote a joke once. I have all those jokes that I say. I just got off the phone with Elon Musk, and then I tell a little story,
stuff.
right?
I like that. I love
I said one that I wrote was that he was telling me that when he was a kid in South Africa, he learned English using records, but he would put the records to play while he went to sleep. And then he would be learning English while sleeping. But one day, one of the records starts skipping, and then he can only stutter some words.
That's pretty funny. No, I love that. That's a good intro for a joke. I love that stuff.
Yeah.
You got off the phone from Elon. Everybody loves Elon. You can't love Elon. It's like
He's my hero. He is my superhero.
I understand
there are few people that I think that they are having a great
Richard
impact.
Branson's not too far behind. He's a little different, a little bit of a girly boy. But
I would no. I think that Branson is
they
very
both got
close.
space things, and they're both very successful in that.
And Bezos, Rutan.
Oh, they're all there. No, they're all there.
Yeah,
but
Bert Rutan.
it's pretty impressive.
Bert Rutan is very
pretty impressive. The money they're pouring into that.
Yeah.
You see the new spaceport that
Peter Beck is like that. The New Zealand guy, the rocket lab that they make these smaller rockets.
I'm not sure what they're doing.
His company is just as innovative.
Are they sending stuff up?
Yeah, they're sending rockets.
Australia?
All the time. It's New Zealand. They have the most gorgeous launch pad in the world, right on the edge of a cliff in New Zealand. It's amazing. Check that. It's called Rocket Lab.
Wow.
Their technology is right there on the edge. It's a mix.
Well, they're the best sailors. I mean, they won the America's Cup. How about that?
And one of the interviews.
Four-leg monohulls.
No. And one of the interviews for
four-leg monohulls. Figure it out.
Yeah, there was an interview for Everyday Astronaut in which they were talking about this, and they were talking about how New Zealand has a tremendous amount of experience in carbon fiber, and England has a tremendous experience. There are a lot of companies that they know a lot about the structural design using carbon fiber. So that's where he
they
sourced
build a lot of blades in England, like the wind blades.
Yeah, and he said that he sourced a lot of engineering both in New Zealand and in England. But the Rocket Lab is a mix. It's an American and New Zealand company, and in fact, it was not just the first rocket company in New Zealand. It's the only one, and New Zealand had to create a space program so they could allow them to launch from New Zealand. It's an amazing story, but
nice.
There are some people
and
like
who's
that.
The main man? Peter
Beck. Peter Beck, yeah.
Kiwi?
He's Kiwi. Yeah, and he is.
What's his money?
Funny.
Technology.
He was always an engineer. He's not like he didn't start a billionaire. No, but he was apparently he was good enough. As far as I understood the story, he was good enough for a long time that it was never too difficult for him to attract investment money.
See.
So
he could talk the story, and he did it. And
he can tell the story. He can show. And he can show that he can do things.
You could get some friendly bankers. You get some money, and off you go. That's cool.
Yeah,
good for him.
It has been the same with Elon Musk. He has no trouble raising money.
Right.
No trouble at all. And I think that it creates a situation that he can try stuff, and he can even start crazy
Start new
businesses
stuff.
like this boring company now.
Boring.
He can start it with like just an idea, and people will they're just waiting to throw money at it, because
It's another unicorn, all that shit.
yeah, he does stuff that is really exciting.
And the Boring Company actually is being successful. They're boring shit.
It's being successful.
They're-
I think they are going to be revolutionary.
The first operational thing is going to be under Las Vegas. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
He's got a trans-city...
Yeah, but they're also talking about some other cities, and they closed that contract to do Chicago airport transport. That contract was signed already.
With Boring
So they
Company?
are on the time. They are on time to deliver
Okay,
that.
but what happened?
They need to make the tunnels from O'Hare to downtown Chicago.
I don't know the geography, but go ahead.
Yeah, it's going to be, I don't know how many miles, but it's the contract is that they are not charging the city anything. They're doing for $0, and then they are going to keep the ticket price, and the contract stipulates that it cannot cost more than $20. So they are betting that charging just $20 to bring people in a straight shot to
But
downtown,
all permits are there.
that they are going to make profit.
They can dig a hole and build the infrastructure and charge $20 a car, and you go
$20 per person.
whatever per
Yeah,
person.
Per person, yeah. Because today they spend like 60 for Uber.
So 4 people in a car, there's $80 to get along.
No, it's not
It's
car.
a car
like
traffic.
it's like a pod that goes inside the car.
Oh, hydropod or
Like a science fiction.
oh, it's not a
thing
drive
that-
car thing.
No,
It's a
no, it's a pod.
the Hyperloop,
It's like Hyperloop. Yeah.
but it's a person pod, like at the airport.
Like the
a people
airport.
mover.
That thing that
A people
people
mover
move,
of some
yeah,
sort.
but underground.
I see. Well, that's valid. No, that's great.
Underground.
You and your bags, off you go.
Yeah.
You don't need a car.
Exactly.
You don't need a car. Just need a pod
And come out riding
a
downtown.
pod with 50
Chicago.
people in it, and off you go.
Yeah. And
That's,
from there you
that's
take
cool.
an Uber.
Oh, he'll win. That's a winner there.
I think so.
Sure
So that contract is, but they don't say anything. Of course, they're not. But they have a deadline. I think it's a couple of years, something like that. They need to show it. But everything else, like
performance index, yeah.
SpaceX is
Well, he's successful.
trouncing everybody else. Like they're
he's totally successful right
Yeah.
there. And Tesla is trouncing because they're the first and only electric car going for years now. It's unbelievable.
there is only one
As a
statistic.
stock, they struggle, but as a company,
There is only one statistic to me that already tells the entire story.
What?
Is that today there is no car in the entire market, there is not a single vehicle that can match the performance of the 2013 Model S. That's a 7-year-old car.
still that's the benchmark for performance
It still beats everybody else. There is not
on
a
electric
single
cars. on
Electric cars.
Really?
Nobody has the range and the performance of the
Oh, so the latest car is
7-year-old
even
one.
better. So nobody can
Yeah.
even touch the latest one, right?
Nobody comes close. The 3 safest cars on all the tests they do here and in Europe: number 1, Model 3; number 2, Model S; number 3, Model X. Like they trounce everybody else.
Safety on electric cars, not on overall.
Safe overall. It's the
Really?
safest car in the world. That's the result of every test.
I haven't heard that.
No, just check it.
I'm gonna check it out.
Check it. The Nizza in US
Used to be Volvos. Volvos were the safest car. I
used to
don't
be.
know. What?
Used to be.
What?
They totally beat the Volvos like far.
You're talking about crash tests and shit.
All the crash tests. It's not just 5 stars. It's 5 stars in every rating, in every category.
I'm skeptical, but
No, it's not
it can't be
Tesla
that
saying
significant.
that.
Otherwise, I would have heard about it.
It's not. But this is the thing. It's not Tesla saying that. It's all the testing organizations that they do this, and in Europe,
I'm skeptical.
and everything
Milton, I
else.
love you, brother, but I'm skeptical. I'll have to research that if I
No,
give a shit.
Check
but-
it out.
I will.
Check it out. You don't need to trust me. It's don't need to.
No, I do.
The numbers are out there and they are public, and they are from many sources. So you don't need to go.
Well,
with
Google
me
will
on
tell
that.
me, right?
Google will tell you. This one that I posted just 2 days ago, and I remember you made a comment, was very interesting.
What was that? I forget.
It is a guy that he has a lot of experience converting regular cars to EV. He has like some 2 or 3 decades of experience doing that, and now he changed his business
He
model.
buys the batteries and he converts a contemporary Mustang into
Contemporary
electric.
cars, mostly
I remember
like
something
classic
like
cars.
That's very cool.
Yeah, mostly classic cars. But he stopped doing that because he's focusing more on dealing with Teslas only because the money is better there. And,
So he's becoming a Tesla mechanic.
But he teaches people how to do it. He teaches people how to do the conversions. He has the equipment. He sells everything from the instructions all the way to the parts. So he's doing that for a long time. And he put out he calls that a conspiracy theory that is very compelling. But like most conspiracy theories, if you really think about it, you can start eroding a point here and there, and that is the case. Like, and to me, the point where he goes a little bit questionable is that he is putting everybody that is in the financial market and pretty much all the short sellers in one block, as if everybody in that group has the same level of insight, of intelligence, or so they could all fit in the same agenda. And that is pretty unlikely, because even within that group and even within the results they are getting, that gives you a correlation, but it still does not give you a causation. Still does not prove that everybody that is playing against Tesla is doing that because of the same agenda.
So I'm not sure what conspiracy theory you're talking about. He's talking about short selling.
No, he's saying that basically the oil industry has so much to lose in billions that they could just fund all the short selling.
I see.
And that the entire losses that all the short sellers got so far would be equivalent to 2 days of revenue of the oil industry. Those numbers are correct, and now all that.
Well, I wish they'd give me some of that, because I lost money on Tesla.
All that presumption is correct.
I'm doing better now, though.
Yeah, all that presumption is correct. However, the presumption that everybody that is betting against Tesla is betting on the same agenda is a stretch, and so that's why
Well, the proof's in the pudding, like I was trying to say. Like they got perfect cars. If their ratings are as good as you say, the safety
No,
and
the cars are amazing.
I mean, the cars are
amazing. They have the best charging infrastructure.
and it's all that's growing, and the charging
It keeps
infrastructure is
growing,
all
yeah, it keeps
growing,
growing.
and the blah blah.
No.
The batteries hopefully are still evolving, and they seem to have a big a lead. You know,
They're-
it's not insurmountable, but at the moment they seem to have a big lead.
They're far ahead. Yeah, for
So
now they're far ahead.
Yeah, right, there you go.
But yeah, every conspiracy theory, except for the ones that looking back were proven to be correct, but mostly because of declassification of documents many years later. So a few of them have been proven to be right, but most conspiracy theories depend on simplifying a group or simplifying a behavior. So you have to presume, for instance, that everybody, thousands of people that work on that shit that someone did, that they all kept the secret, that nobody got drunk, that nobody got depression and decided to spill the beans. You know, it depends on simplifying either a group or simplifying a behavior. And that's why most conspiracy theories are fucking unbelievable, because nobody ever said anything, nobody changed their mind, it never failed.
These days it's fake news, all sorts of fake news.
Exactly. So it's true. It's
bots,
true.
all the Russian bots are out there doing shit.
But there are some things way back in the past that were declassified, and people look, oh shit, that was true. There are lists of those now.
Yeah.
And one that is happening a lot now, because in the field of social media, I mean, my business that I'm doing today is social networking. So we are aware of the security problems of it, and the idea.
You mean hacking into your system?
Hacking into the systems. Yeah, we have to design things in such a way to protect against that. So we need to be aware of what kind of attacks and what kind of systems exist out there. And one thing that is classic and it's very well known is that there are, I would call it hacker farms, but you could call it social influencing farms or social hacking farms. Most of them are in Russia, some of them are in Macedonia, Albania, and in a few other countries, but most of them are in the Russian-speaking world, that if you have a social network, you start getting dozens and then hundreds and then thousands of users that get in and they participate using bots that are very sophisticated and they look real.
So if you get likes, your friends or followers, then all these people can manipulate your program?
If you are famous enough or interesting enough, or you have access to
well, you're depending on Twitter or Tumblr or Facebook to protect you against that. You're protecting you're depending on the platform to protect you against that.
And these platforms spend an enormous amount of money and personnel to avoid that kind of thing.
They created their own hell.
Yeah, and they spend a lot of resources trying to defend and curb that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And they do it successfully to a certain degree.
But it's evolutionary. It's changing all the time.
Yeah, but if you have you're building your own network or any system or forum or your podcast or anything like that, you have to keep monitoring it, because sooner or later there will be a lot of trolling or a lot of users and a lot of things like that, and you need to learn to detect those patterns. And
hopefully there's software to help you not learn that, but protect against that. You got McAfee and all those boys. You can't do what McAfee does.
No. There is no software that will just solve the problem, that you can buy it and you solve the problem.
You need to learn coder, and you
need to learn methods. You need to learn a combination of technologies. It's tremendously complicated.
Well, maybe you need to do that, but not me. I'm a sailor.
Yeah. I need to be.
I'd rather go sailing. You hear me?
Yeah. My.
In fact, you want to do one of these catamarans with me?
I'm going for a trimaran. One day you have a trimaran.
I don't have any tries. I remember. Oh, sorry.
One day.
I remember you said that, but
one day
there's not many tries around there that I get. You know.
Yeah.
The tries you want are more technical than what I get. That's not my universe. So you better look for another.
But it may happen one day. If it happens,
it may happen. No, I'm good. You know, I can sail anything.
But definitely
anything, man.
One thing that I'm really counting on and hoping for,
here we go.
And happy for, is you helping me test my boat.
Oh yeah, right.
That for sure. I want your experience there, because it's a lot of slow methodological, careful testing. And discovering what.
So I want to talk to you about this one out here that I saw. I just had an epiphany. We got to go deal with that here in a little bit. Yeah.
Sure.
I have questions about that.
A lot of what it is coming from listening to what people say, and sometimes trying their ideas or adopting, and a few of them ignoring. But I depend on input of people that have experience in certain fields, especially in aeronautics and boating and sailing and design and engineering.
Well, let's go look at that.
What I don't need is opinions from people that have no fucking clue, and that I really don't listen to, but I don't waste my time. But when someone has any expertise in anything that can be related, I usually like to show.
I'm not calling expertise, but just knowledge.
Captain, once you told me about a Russian captain that dropped a drum of oil for you guys. That was so fucking funny. Why did he do that? What happened? That a guy gives you a drum of diesel.
He was on a very similar boat to what you and I sailed on. That was a 42 Hinckley. This was a 41 Hinckley. Also a catch rig with 2 masts. Little Hinckley traditional sailing boat. And we were headed to the Virgin Islands. Motor, calm weather all the way, a lot of motoring. We ran out of fuel. And so I'm hearing on the radio, this is way before what you were talking about, way before electronic navigation. You had to tune in the radio to the BBC or to the Coast Guard weather thing or to the National Weather Service. You had to find your high frequency that worked, and we were using the section, of course. And I was hearing this hurricane is coming, come across the Atlantic. It was hurricane season, so we're coming across, and so we didn't have any fuel, run out of fuel, and the hurricane's coming. I kind of begged the guy for some fuel. So I called a couple of ships, but the one answered, and it turned out to be the Lupin. I remember the name of the vessel. I didn't get the captain's name, but it was the Russian vessel Lupin, which is a flower, L-U-P-N, Lupin. And so I begged him for some fuel, and he dropped me a jug of fuel.
Nice.
Pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah, it was nice. I don't know, I told you, but...
and I hear a lot of stories of people helping each other, you know, in the... Not just out in the ocean, I mean, even at the marina, even at the, you know, you go to this beach and people are helping and they decide to cook together and someone has a problem, someone else shows up, hey, I'll help you fix this, you know.
Well, that's the human way, isn't it?
It's a very, and it's
the human way?
And it's a very common thing in the sailing world, and a guy that I know in Brazil, he has a very cool phrase about it. He says that the sailing world has a natural filter for assholes. It's like assholes don't last. They just give up.
I think he's fantasizing, but
yeah.
Well, it's true. A lot of people give up because they're just wannabe sailors, and they end up. I remember running down to Trinidad, or was it Bonaire, where the perfect marina, and these old retired couples got their little boat, and they run down there, and they plug into the shore. They got air conditioning, they got cable TV, they got, you know, and they live on their boat. They think they're cruising, but here they are in Trinidad for years at a time or something, you know. You can get hung up like that, but there's assholes everywhere, Milton. Sailing.
I think the average is better.
Sailing filters out some of the weak, you know, the non-adventurous types. So I'm not sure it filters out assholes.
Yeah, but I suspect the average is better. Even
well, you hope so, because you're all in a smaller environment. You're all, you know, boats are like we said, like a hands-on thing, and you have to be proactive to make it happen and do it now.
And it's easier if you depend on each other. You know, if you help each other.
Because if you don't know your refrigeration, you got to call in the refrigeration guy, and he happens to be on a boat instead of in an expensive store. Or you need an electrician because you don't know how to fix your electrical problem, so you call the guy on the boat who knows how to fix it. You know, or you know, a lot of people get in these boats and they don't know jack all about jack all.
Yeah. Exactly. They're how they say credit card captains, right?
Some of that for sure, or just ignorant, or hopeful, or just ideological.
Well, I believe the sailing world has a really, really good average. you are pushing some of that average. You're one of my
I'm bringing it down. I'll tell you that.
Friends. So I want to thank you. Thank you for.
Thank you
for being on this podcast and sharing some of those ideas with us.
Right.
And I hope it's not the last. And I'm saying this publicly. If you decide to tell more, you want to tell your experience or the things you know, or make it a technical or non-technical, or just telling crazy stories, and you would like to do your own podcast or your own videos, you can count on me. I will help you. I'll show you exactly how to do it. And I think you would gain some from it, but I know for sure that we all would gain a lot from it. You know, when someone with the body of knowledge and experience that you have decides to share that on video, it's a powerful thing. And I hope I'll be able to inspire you to do it. It would be great for us, and us, I mean us all. I hope you do it. And
well, I hear you, and I think that's good. I'm probably not one to try to in any way throw myself about, but I don't mind it if the right questions come up. Answer a question, but I'm not probably going to market myself in any way like that. People say, "Oh, you should write a book," but I haven't. I can generally write, just that I can't type. I can throw some words together, but getting it on the keyboard is a difficult dang thing. So.
Let me give you an insight on that.
So there's an inhibition for my little...
A book takes...
Nobody reads a book anymore.
Time.
That's why
it takes time and commitment to be there. People play this podcast mostly while they are driving. They put just the audio. You know, they get it on iTunes, so they just listen to it.
Right.
Or sometimes, and people that know us usually watch the video because they want to see the video. But most people just listen to it.
I don't have a lot
of people. A lot of people will be listening to you while they are sailing. because they just want to learn some stuff or hear a story. They want that entertainment. They want something to do while they're cooking or driving or saying, and they want that to be knowledge. They don't want to be listening about bullshit. You know, they prefer to listen from someone that they respect, and that's where podcasts become so powerful. I would say that today the audio world is as powerful as the book, as the written world, because it's more accessible.
And the video part, and with YouTube, and people can watch. If you know, obviously, audio is one step down from the whole video routine. But either way, if I get that motivation, I'll come see you.
Yeah, please. I'll be happy to help you. Captain, thank you so much. Thank you for this podcast.
Good time here. Good fun.
Okay, let's go eat some barbecue.
We hope you like this podcast as much as we like to produce it. This has been made possible by the efforts of dozens of volunteers, supporters, partners, and visionaries that are helping us build Voyager's World. Please visit our website,